Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for joining me here in this private space we have, where you can get some, videos about the more personal aspects of my life. So I'm going to continue the story. Actually, I'm making this video first before I make the one that's public. So, yeah, I've been single for over 2 years now, and it's been quite a journey. It's my longest time ever being single in my adult life. And I would say it's not by circumstance, but by choice. I'm just really picky this time around and want to make sure I get the right partner. So I'll just talk a little bit about what happened in my relationship with Rie. There's so many details, and I've thought so much about this, about how to make a video about this, and I think it came down to about two issues when it came to my relationship with Rie. It was about two issues that really caused a lot of stress and conflict in our relationship. And maybe three issues, but the two issues that I'll talk about, one was money. So I have a very draconian mentality when it comes to money, managing money, saving money. I'm really strict about that. And sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. The good part of it, is that my finances are squared away pretty well, and it's afforded me the lifestyle I live now. The bad part of it is, sometimes people will say I'm stingy. So, with Rie, what I wanted to do is I wanted to go to America with her, and I wanted us to buy an RV and travel around America and live the van life, and I wanted to YouTube that, and that's kind of the vision I had. I wasn't stuck on that. There was also, the possibility of us living in Thailand or somewhere in Southeast Asia. Of course it was going to be something that we decided to do together. Now I would say after about 2 years in our relationship, so we were together for a total of 4 years. Yeah, so about after 2 years, there was a lot of stress and strain in our relationship. I would say that, to just be an advocate for Rie, she was really into our relationship, and she wanted to get married, and she was really into me, and she really loved me. Full stop. That's not even debatable. But me, I kind of had one foot in the door, one foot out. I had so many women around me in Japan, and there was a lot of temptation, and yeah, that caused strain in our relationship. And I think I'm a complicated person. People don't know me. They think they know me from YouTube, but I am an introvert, and it means that I need I need time to myself in order to give my best to others. I felt kind of constricted while I was living with Rie. I couldn't always do what I wanted to do the kind of work I wanted to do. Like even making a video like this, it would require me scheduling that out with her so that she wouldn't be in the house, something like that. Anyways, I'm the kind of person that, I need time to myself in order to give my best to others. That's what I need to rejuvenate. So that caused some tension when we were living together in Osaka. And I think she felt like I was pushing her away when, I suggested that we live apart, and we did actually start living apart. And then there was a time where she got really, really, really sick. And I think she took that as me not being fully in the relationship, which looking back on it, I totally agree with that. I mean, it's like either you're committed and you're going to do this together or you're not. That's how I see it now. But back then, I had different rationalities of justifying what I was doing. I guess I wanted my space, but I also wanted to have this great girlfriend. It caused her a lot of stress, and I wasn't there for her all the time when she needed me. And she started joining these like groups that were talking about how to make your life better, and that led to her getting into some kind of MLM, like multi-level marketing schemes, which led to her getting into some kind of religious cults. And oh God, I could talk about this for hours because there's just so much detail, but I don't want to talk about it for hours. But long story short, yeah, she got into a couple of MLMs and a cult. And long story short, they conned her out of thousands of dollars. I think all in all, she probably spent close to $25,000 or $30,000 of her own money buying into these MLM schemes, and this one cult she was in. Ended up giving them thousands and thousands of dollars. I remember this one day I was trying to go meet her and she wasn't around. And she had gone to some conference for this cult she was in where was that? I can't even remember the names of Japanese cities because I haven't been in Japan for so long. It was in Fukushima. And she went there for like a weekend retreat, and that cost $9,000. And I mean, Rie wasn't rich. She wasn't that kind of rich where you can just spend $9,000 on a weekend resort. I mean, she was a nurse. She made $3,000 to $4,000 a month. Okay. Plus she had all her taxes and Japanese pension to pay. So I mean, she wasn't making a lot of money. So that was a lot of money. And that was tough. Like when I found that out, I just my head was like a volcano. I was so angry. Because what I saw was her just, all this money. Like I had a budget for us. I said, what, you need to put in X amount of money. I'm going to put in X amount of money. And once we get that money together, we're going to go to America. I just saw this money just flying out the window. And I knew I knew that she wasn't going to have the money for our dream. And yeah, she ended up spending all her savings. I mean, she still had like a retirement account that she didn't touch, but it's one of those retirement accounts that you can't touch until you're 65 kind of thing. But in terms of like the extra money that she had for any dream like that we had together, that was all gone, finished. So of course, I became super resentful about that. And I found myself living, so you guys know I went to Thailand by myself. I lived there for about 8 months by myself. We were broken up during that time, by the way. But I missed her. She missed me. We got back together. That's when I came back to Japan. So the second issue that contributed to us breaking up was she had children. It wasn't a big issue in the beginning. She had 2 teenage children. She got married when she was young. And she had children when she was young. So when I came back to Japan, I lived with her and her daughter. And I really, really tried just from day one to have a good relationship with her daughter. So actually when I first met Rie, she was married. She was married, and that marriage was ending, and she was married for something like 14 years. That marriage was ending, already on its way out, and then she met me, and we had this great connection. And she ended up getting divorced so that her and I could be together. But getting back to what I was saying, when I came back to Japan from Thailand, I moved in with her and her 16-year-old daughter. And I really tried to make it work with her daughter. Her daughter just had already decided from day one, even before I even arrived, that she wasn't gonna like me. I don't know if any of you have had an experience living with your girlfriend's daughter, teenage daughter, or your new wife's teenage daughter, but wow, that was just a disaster. I mean, it didn't matter what I did. I would try to go out with the daughter. I would cook for her. I would cook breakfast for her every morning. Tried talking to her, hanging out with her, and just all I would get was just, the shortest possible answer. If I asked her a question, she would just give me the shortest possible answer and wouldn't leave me with anything to really build off of in a conversation. When we ate together at night, the daughter would sit next to Rie and just like whisper into Rie's ear to talk to her, and so I couldn't hear what they were talking about. And her daughter did everything in a very passive aggressive way to just let me know that I wasn't included in this family. So that caused a lot of stress and strain on our relationship, and it just all kind of came to a head, and we started fighting every day, and they were like really bad fights, not just disagreeing, not just like sitting down and having calm discussions. We were just having really unpleasant fights almost every day, and this went on for 2 months, and I couldn't see the situation getting better, and I just knew that we had to be apart. So I just found this little furnished apartment that I can move into, and I just moved out one night while Ria was at work. I didn't want any drama while I was leaving, and I'm sure when she came back the next morning from her morning shift, she realized that I wasn't there, and that's it. And I didn't talk to her at all after that. She tried to contact me a couple times, but they were just really like bitter, angry messages. I just ignored them. After that, about a week later, I went to the Philippines for the summer. Had a great time there. I loved it. I stayed in the Philippines for about 2 months, and I came back to Japan and started my single life in the Philippines. It was great. I loved it. That was my first time in the Philippines. And I'm in Africa right now, but if I were to go back to Asia and live as an expat in Asia, I would go back to the Philippines, no doubt. I like it more than Thailand. Then after the Philippines, I came back to Japan, and my plan was to just work some more, save a little more, live there for about a year, kind of process the breakup. And I did. I lived a pretty lonely life for the next year in Japan. And that's when my channel was private and my videos were only available to patrons. And it was tough being back in Japan. And in retrospect, I don't think I should have come back. I think I should have stayed in the Philippines, because I was really enjoying my life there in the Philippines. But I did decide to come back to Japan and work another year, save some more money, because I knew that eventually I was going to leave Japan. That was a tough year, because being there in Japan reminded me of Rie. I heard from her once on New Year's Day of 2018. Hadn't heard from her in like 6 months. We just greeted each other and said Happy New Year's, and I never heard from her again. So that's it, guys. I mean, that last year that I was in Japan was a really tough year for me. It's like a lot of grieving and going through the process of losing someone you love. And then eventually I decided to leave Japan, and that's when I went to Kenya. And by the time I was going to Kenya, I was finally over Rie. Yeah, so basically it took me a year to get over that relationship and process all of that. And it was not a fun experience being there in Japan and grieving and feeling lonely and missing somebody, and then being around Japanese people, which are frankly awful. I mean, they just make you feel like shit as a foreigner. But I did it. I got through it. I toughed it out, and I started the next chapter of my life. I didn't know Kenya would have such an impact on me. but I really loved it there. And thus the beginning of the next chapter of my life. I call it the third chapter of my life. The first being my life in America, the second being my life in Japan for 20 years, and now being here in East Africa. So guys, obviously I've left out a lot of details, but those are the basic reasons why Rie and I split up. I want to thank my patrons once again. I have a lot of videos coming out now about my time here in Uganda. That's where I'm at right now, in Uganda. And my dating life, my social life. Again, thank you guys for joining me in this private setting, and there's going to be a lot more interesting videos here on Patreon for you guys to enjoy. Peace out.